Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the State Road 5 US 1 Biscayne Boulevard from Northeast 55th Terrace to Northeast 58th Street Safety Project public meeting. We will begin our presentation shortly. We're just waiting for a couple more people to join us in the room and online. Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, just waiting a couple more minutes to get started. We have a couple of folks joining us in person and letting a little bit more quorum join us online as well. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. Again, welcome. This is the State Road 5, US 1 Biscayne Boulevard from Northeast 55th Terrace to Northeast 58th Street Safety Project. The FIN number or financial identification number for this project is 250-629-9-32-01. We're going to get started with our presentation. Again, project limits are State Road 5, US 1, Biscayne Boulevard, from Northeast 55th Terrace to Northeast 58th Street. This is a design safety project. This project is in its design phase. Si necesita traducción durante la reunión, puede levantar su mano o puede solicitar ayuda a través del chat y un miembro de nuestro equipo le asistirá. FDOT representatives attending the meeting in person will be identified by the badge shown on screen. And for those joining us online, if you experience any technical difficulties, please contact Monica Diaz for assistance at 305-984-2715 or via email at monica@iscprgroup.com. Before we get started, we would like to recognize any federal, state, or local city officials who may be present in person. Please raise your hand if you are from a government entity in person. You may also use the raise hand feature if you are attending online. Monica, do we have any elected officials online? No. Okay, everybody. So our agenda for tonight is pretty simple. We'll go through a couple of general information items, including a non-discriminatory policy. Then we'll hop into the overview of the project, where we'll go into project limits again, the scope of the work, and additional information. And we'll end our session with a Q&A open discussion, and then we'll close out the evening. So the Florida Department of Transportation is required to announce its non-discrimination laws and regulations. We do have a Title VI coordination office. If you have any questions or concerns about tonight's meeting that you need to raise, please contact our District 6 Title coordinator, our District 6 Title 6 coordinator, Dat Nguyen, at 305-470-5201, or in writing via mail at FDOT 1000 Northwest 111 Avenue, Miami, Florida 33172. You may also email him at dat.win@dot.state.fl.us. Our state Title VI coordinator in our central office for the state of Florida is Lisa Bethencourt. She can be reached via phone at 38850-414-4742 or in writing at FDOT Equal Opportunity Office, 605 Sewanee Street, MS 65, Tallahassee, Florida 32399. Her email is lisa.bethencourt@dot.state.fl.us. Rules of engagement for this evening are pretty simple. This meeting is being recorded. The meeting will begin with a presentation followed by a Q&A session. If you are calling in via phone, you will not be able to provide a comment. You will need to email in any questions or concerns. To provide comments, please call 305-984-2715 or email monica@iscprgroup.com. Tonight's presentation is also available via the link provided in the presentation, and it will be dropped in the chat area as well. During the open discussion portion of our meeting, in-person attendees will be able to stand up and direct themselves to the mic to make any comments or questions. For virtual attendees, the meeting will remain muted except for the open discussion session. To participate during the open discussion, please use the raise hand button on your GoToWebinar. The picture attached here shows exactly where to access that raise hand button in the webinar area, and you will be unmuted. You may also submit comments or questions via the question box and drop them in that chat area that's at the bottom of the screen. All attendees that are going to participate during our open discussion session will have 3 minutes to provide any feedback, questions, etc. Okay, so we'll get started with our presentation. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. We are your project team for this project. With us this evening is the FDOT project manager, Ramon Sierra, our design consultant project manager, Diego Espitia, and myself, the community outreach specialist, Maria Larrazabal, joined by Jeff Bacendano. Jeff, if you will please raise your hand. He is also a community outreach specialist helping support this project. In terms of our community outreach efforts, we began our community outreach by connecting with elected officials. The design team notified elected officials about this project, as well as the upcoming public meeting. In terms of stakeholders, we attended a Morningside Civic Association meeting this past March 11th and notified stakeholders of the area about the project itself. We've also mailed out information about the project details and the public meeting so that as many people could attend as possible. And last but not least, we're here today to host the in-person public meeting. Any comments, feedbacks, and concerns we'll collect this evening as well. FDOT is focused on providing safe roadways throughout the state infrastructure. We use key themes in order to provide that, to guide ourselves through the design and execution of our roadways. They are safety, resiliency, supply chain, technology, and workforce development. And with that, I will hand it over to Ramon.
Thank you, Maria. So this slide shows the limits of the project. The project is on Biscayne Boulevard. The construction is going to start up at about 55th Terrace, and it's going to go north until about 58th Street approximately. But the bulk of the work will be at 57th Street. The next slide, I will tell you a little bit more about the scope of the project. So the scope is to install a pedestrian crosswalk at 57th Terrace and Biscayne Boulevard. Again, the main purpose for the project is pedestrian related, right? And there's going to be a signal controlling that pedestrian crosswalk that's going to be pedestrian actuated. So at the crosswalk, in addition to the signal, there's going to be pavement markings, ADA ramps, and we're also going to extend a median on Biscayne Boulevard to create a pedestrian refuge. There's going to be some signing involved. As I said earlier, the construction starts a little bit north of 55th Terrace and extends to about 58th. All right, so all the project, and same as any other FDOT project, we build projects to last. So we're proactive, and we build sustainable infrastructure that can adapt to Florida's climate demands. Also notable about the project is FDOT is that FDOT invests in roadway, seaports, rail networks, freight and trucking networks, and airports, airport cargo facilities that facilitate movement of goods and services to our community. So this project falls in line with that supply chain goal. We're going to be using technology also as part of the of this project, and I also want to tell you that there's going to be additional lighting, pedestrian lighting at the crosswalk, enhanced lighting. And lastly, the opportunity is also, the project creates the opportunity for to create jobs in the community, right? So the next slide, I want to share with you some pictures from where the crosswalk is going to be built. I know you are very familiar with the location, but I want to provide the pictures as for context. So the top row, pictures in the top row, I'm going to start with the one next to the yellow safety vest. That's a picture across Biscayne Boulevard looking towards the west. And I want to bring your attention to the new building, residential and commercial building. That's called the Boulevard. That was built on the west side of Biscayne Boulevard. And that's exactly where the crosswalk will be located. The crosswalk will be right in front of the main entrance to the building and connect to 57th Street on the other side of Biscayne Boulevard. The picture next to it, next to the shield with shaking hands, the blue shaking hands, is a same location, just looking east towards 57th Avenue, and the median that's going to be extended as part of the project. The bottom pictures are just different shots. Like, for example, the one next to the blue shield shows the new building, a residential commercial building on the west side of Biscayne Boulevard, and a commercial building, office building on the east side. And again, the other picture next to the orange shield in the bottom row is another picture looking west across Biscayne Boulevard. Next, I want to turn the presentation over to Diego Espitia to my left, who's going to tell you more details about the project.
Thank you, Ramon. Yeah, on this slide, it's a small rendering of the proposed improvements, depicting the proposed signs and the location of the proposed crosswalk along with the mast arm. For those in here, we do have a board in the back, so you can refer that after the presentation. Next slide, please. Can I pause for a little bit? Okay.
So we can, after the presentation, we can walk to the back, and that's why we have the board in the back for those that are in the room. We'll be happy to entertain your questions and answer your questions.
Yes, we'll hold all questions till then.
Thank you. In regards to the traffic control, construction activities will be performed in phases to minimize impacts to the public. In phase one, we'll be closing out a lane on each direction to install the proposed signal features, such as the mast arm and the pedestrian pedestals, the proposed lighting improvements, and the proposed signs, as well as any sidewalk replacement required due to the proposed improvements. And then in the second phase, which is the repaving and restriping phase, we will be utilizing small detours along Northeast 4th Court, which we'll explain later on the presentation. Next slide, please. The work along phase one, which is when we'll be closing one lane at a time, one bound at a time, will be performed from 9:30 to 7:30 p.m. And as I said, it'll one lane will be maintained at all times on each direction, and it'll be worked at one bound at a time. For the second phase, which is for the repaving and the restriping of the project, we will, I guess, as I said, utilize a small detour along Northeast 4th Court. The work will be performed at night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Next slide, please. These are the proposed detours. As I indicated, they're very small. On the left side, you'll see the detour being used when the northbound travel lanes are being repaved and restriped. And on the right side, you'll see the detour when the southbound travel lanes are being repaved and restriped. As I indicated, this will be built one bound at a time. And as you can see, we'll be using Northeast 4th Ave, or 4th Court, I'm sorry, between 54th Street and 58th Street. Next slide. The posted speed, which is 35 miles per hour, will be maintained during the construction of the project. The contractor will be required to water and sweep in order to minimize construction-related dust. Some noise should be expected during allowable construction hours, and access to businesses and residences will be maintained at all times. With that, I want to pass it back to Ramon. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Next, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the project schedule. So as Maria said earlier, we're developing the construction plans currently, and we're about a little bit more than 90% complete. We expect to finish the plans and get them ready for construction just in the next few weeks. So spring of 2026, which is finishing up pretty soon. The project is funded for construction, and we expect to start construction in early 2027. All right, I'm sorry, that's the contract will be advertised in early 2027, and the construction will start in the fall of 2027. The construction duration is rather short. It's 90 days. It's a small project, and we expect to finish before the end of 2027. As I said, the project is funded for construction, and the cost is about $600,000, just a little bit over $600,000. So next, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Maria and open the floor for discussions.
Thank you, Ramon. So once again, just a reminder, in-person attendees will be opening the floor to Q&A in just a couple of seconds here. For whoever who would like to make a comment or ask a question, please direct yourselves over to the microphone and form a line. We'll open up to questions for about 3 minutes per person. For virtual attendees, please feel free to start submitting your questions in the questions box or the chat box. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand button on the GoToWebinar panel, and you will be unmuted. Once again, all participants will have 3 minutes to provide comments or questions, and we do ask that you, before you begin, you clearly state your name and address. So as you go up, my name is Maria Larrazabal. My address is 9143 Southwest 4th Street, and you can begin your question. Staff will be available to answer questions in the order that they are received, as long as time permits. If your question is unanswered during the event, please feel free. I will leave the contact information up once again for any additional questions or concerns. You can reach us by email or by mail and by phone. Contact information, again, project manager here to my left, Ramon Sierra. His phone number is 305-470-5336. And he can be reached by email at ramon.sierra@dot.state.fl.us. Once again, I'm Maria Larrazabal, your community outreach specialist. My phone number is 305-470-5477. And my email is maria.larrazabal@dot.state.fl.us. Jeff Bacandano's contact information, the other community outreach specialist for this project, is 305-470-5477. And he can be reached via email at jeff.bacandano@dot.state.fl.us. You can also find information about this project and other Florida Department of Transportation projects, both in the design and construction phase at www.southflroads.com. Just listing the rules of engagement once again, and I'll go ahead and open it to the question and answer session. If anybody has a question or comment, please direct yourselves to the microphone and form a line. And just checking one more time, Monica, do we have any elected officials online?
We do not have any elected officials. We just have one question.
Okay. So we're going to open the floor for questions in person first, and then we'll direct to the raise hand question online. Who's first?
So my name's Alan Danvers. I live at 5995 North Bayshore Drive. That's in Morningside.
Mhm.
I've lived in the area since 1979. I used to live in the curved building between 57th and 58th, where the sidewalk, where your project is. I got T-boned once at 58th Street, driving south on Biscayne Boulevard. Car came out of 58th Street, T-boned me, because that crossing there is very dangerous. To get out of Morningside and go north, that's the only place we can do it safely without going all the way down to 50th Terrace. So 58th Street is where we turn right to go north on Biscayne Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
So I strongly urge you to move your beautiful project a half a block north to 58th Street to also accommodate drivers trying to leave Biscayne Boulevard. I'm sorry, trying to leave Morningside to go north, but also all the ones coming from the west building, the Boulevard building, trying to go north. I mean, I don't know how they go north now. So if you're going to put a traffic light, make it for the cars too. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah. Next.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming and presenting your project. My name is Peter Ehrlich. My address is 243 59 Terrace in Lemon City, a couple blocks west of the subject site. Thank you very much for the description. You're talking about a project on 57th Street, and I'd be curious to see if you'd considered doing the project on 58th Street or 59 or 60th Street, and how you ended up with 57. 59th Street is a westbound street, goes east and west, dead end at Morningside. But going westbound, it crosses the FEC tracks, crosses the railroad tracks. So it's used as a hurricane evacuation route, and it gets, I think, 2,500 or 3,000 vehicles a day go westbound into Little River, Lemon City, and to the west side of Miami. And it's well worth considering. I know I attended a meeting at the FDOT offices with drawings from your proposals from, it's 2003, 22 years ago. I've been in the area for 30 years. But thank you very much for having that discussion, 23 years ago. So my question is, did you consider 58th Street or 59? And I think other neighbors might have similar questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. So I'll be happy to answer that. No, we didn't, for this specific effort, we did not look at 59th. We did look at 58th several times over the years. Different requests we've gotten over the years for a signalized intersection there. Last time we looked at the intersection is last week. We collected traffic counts last week at 58th and Biscayne Boulevard, and the same pattern has, basically the data that we collected shows the same pattern that's been the same for the last many years. Basically, we have data going back to 1996. I researched those records myself, and we don't have the pedestrian activity. I know there's been crashes, right? And I know there's traffic, traffic that uses the intersection, pedestrians and so on. We don't have the minimum, we don't meet the minimum threshold for a signal there at 58th. Now,
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Wagoner. I live at 5955 Northeast 6th Avenue. I have experience in construction with DOT. I'm wondering about when the PD&E for this project occurred, because I don't recall ever seeing or hearing about it.
No, there was no PD&E. That this project doesn't require PD&E. It's driven by pedestrian demand. So we conducted a study from 55th to 58th. And basically the main effort was to look at traffic, pedestrian activity. And we found that 57th is, we meet the minimum requirements to justify a pedestrian. This is a pedestrian safety driven project.
Well, okay, my comment is that I believe that there should be a signalized intersection at 58th Street and for traffic going both ways where there's only 3 ways there, and in fact 57th doesn't go through, so it's only
And
for
neither-
parking mostly.
Yeah, neither does 58th.
Excuse me, 58th.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I understand.
Right, yeah.
Thank you for your comment, Pete.
Thank you.
I'm Jeff King, 546 Northeast 57th Street. Mr. Sierra, you mentioned that you called it a commercial building at 5701, the east side of Biscayne Boulevard, north of 57th.
So mixed use, I might have
Mixed
used
u-
mixed use.
It's a condominium up and real estate, I think, on the first floor.
Uh,
There are, but,
Forgive me for the,
okay, there are 6 parking places for tenants there that can only be accessed from Biscayne Boulevard and 57th Street. Right now, they can come and go as they please, but if you block it, you're going to cause a complication with the residents there. I'm not one of them, but I'm aware of it.
so we're not blocking 57, sir.
You are blocking the entrance, you said, with a median stretched out so people can't turn in from the north.
They'll have to go south and make a U-turn. Yeah, but we're not blocking access to 57th at all.
Correct. You're not, but you're blocking a left turn onto 57th from southbound US 1.
Okay,
No,
Yes, right?
that's not the case, no.
No.
The
okay.
left turn southbound is maintained. What's being blocked, or the reason why we're extending the median, is for the traffic going westbound along 57th Avenue to not be able to make a left
so
onto Biscayne South.
I want to emphasize we're not blocking
Okay,
any access at all.
So those people in those 6
They'll still
people
be able to,
cannot go south from their parking.
That's
They
correct.
can only go north and they have to do a U-turn.
That is
Well, the
correct.
thing is, if I've stood there on that site, and it seems like if you put the crosswalk to the south side of 57th Street, that's where people cross right now anyway, I'm one of them. If you
Yeah.
put it to the south of 57th Street and not in the middle of 57th, and I understand the middle goes right into the door of that new construction, but people can zig and zag. But if you put it to the south, then you can give those residents the flexibility to do what they've always done.
it is to the south.
You said it's lined up with the entrance to the,
I'll be happy to show you in the drawing in the back, but it's in the south, I can assure you.
it's south of 57th Street.
It's on the south side of 57th, yes.
Okay,
I'll show you in the picture. I'll
All
be
right.
happy to show you.
all right, well then I'll just finish. Were you aware though that there were people directly impacted, these 6 parking places of residents in that building?
Yeah, I mean, we did an extensive study, so yes, sir.
You knew about that parking lot?
I mean, I know that the 57th is there's a portion of 57th on the east side that provides access. And then, like about 100 feet into 57th, it's closed off to
Correct.
traffic.
Right.
But there are driveways. There is a gate on the north side.
Yes, but that gate doesn't access those 6 places.
Okay, but
That's what I'm bringing up.
the gate opens so that, people could use that entrance and exit off of 57th Avenue. Off of 57th Street, I'm
Off of
sorry,
Fifth, off of,
57.
Okay, we'll stand back here.
We'll stand
I-
back there and we'll review everything because we're at the 3 minutes. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Elisa Savita, 531 Northeast 76th Street. So I guess I'd like to understand, Mr. Sierra, what is the actual treatment that is being proposed? What is the actual crossing?
You mean the type of traffic control device? It's a full signal. It has a red, yellow, and green indication. Same as it's a traffic signal.
And it is in the air.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, Elise.
Good evening. My name is Shelley King. I live at 546 Northeast 57th Street. As my husband spoke, I'm also one of the pedestrians that walks across. And one of the reasons that we as pedestrians choose that spot to walk across is there's a median. So you can go halfway through and you can cross. I would like to posit that if you move to 58th Street, which is really not even a full block between 57th and 58th there, if you would move the light there, those people would just as happily walk that half a block and cross there at the crosswalk, and it would be safer for both vehicle traffic and for pedestrians. It's a win-win for everybody. I have witnessed more accidents on eastbound 58th Street. People that are going left onto, north onto Biscayne Boulevard or going straight across, and people are going to die. It's really, really serious. So, thank you for listening.
Thanks for your
Thank you.
comment.
We do have people who've been waiting online. So if you have asked a question, we could get back to you after we go through the individuals online. So go ahead and then we'll continue with the individuals that are online.
Hello, Elvis Cruz, 631 Northeast 57th Street. Thank you for showing up. And let me say, I'm sorry that the sun is in your eyes.
It's
I am
okay.
not the manager of this building. If I was, there would be curtains for moments like this. The screen is washed out as well. Again, thank you for coming. And I'm so impressed that FDOT is so well organized and prepared. Remote cameras, an AV person, a microphone that actually works. Everybody has a mic. This is top notch. I wish the city of Miami would emulate your level of organization and efficiency. Okay, enough of that. Let me get to the meat. So at least 3 times that I can remember, and I've been in Morningside since 1977, at least 3 times I can remember formal requests from the neighborhood to have a traffic signal at 58th Street. And every time the response from FDOT was the same. No, it would be too dangerous to put a traffic signal at 58th Street because of the blind curve coming northbound on Biscayne Boulevard. As they go around that blind curve, cars would be stopped, queued up because of the stoplight, and that would be a dangerous situation. And so that was the gospel from FDOT. So I and many of my neighbors were extremely surprised when this proposal came along for a stoplight, not at 58th, but at 57th, which your common sense and logic would tell you is even closer to the blind curve and therefore even more dangerous. And then in my conversations with Mr. Sierra, you said, no, the blind curve is not a problem, which is completely different from what FDOT has been telling us for at least 30 years. So I'm very baffled by that. I'm hoping you can speak to that. I also want to mention that the traffic count. It was said that the traffic count on 58th Street leaving Morningside or leaving that neighborhood's called Palm Grove on the other side, that the traffic count wasn't high enough to justify having a stoplight at 58th. And I'm curious, from the table that you sent me earlier today, which was 2019, by the way, I didn't get the latest one, but the table you sent, it averaged to about 20 cars per hour, if my memory serves correctly. You counted about 20 cars per hour. But I didn't get, what was the traffic count? How many pedestrians per hour crossed Biscayne Boulevard? You know that?
Okay, so let's start by, first of all, thank you for the praise. I am
Oh, my pleasure.
very much welcome.
And I'll just say we have 20 seconds left. Yes.
So, all right, so let's talk about the curve first, if that's okay. So I looked in, I've been around for a long time. I've been in the office in my position for a little bit over 16 years. not 30. So I'm not, I did literature research. We have studies dating back to 1996 that I could get my hands on. I could not find any reference whatsoever to the explanation that you're sharing with us about the blind curve. Visibility is not an issue. So, I cannot speak for the explanations that somebody gave you 30 years ago. I'm not saying that they're not true or, what those people say, but there's no evidence that I could find, that I could see that that would be a reason not to provide a signal, either a 57th or a 58th. That was never the reason. We looked at many times for possibility to study. We studied the possibility for a signal at 58th. Again, this was never an issue. And now you're asking me about the count. So this morning, as I said, the last study that we did was last week, and it was driven by your request. And Sandy, I don't know if Sandy, I don't see her here.
She's out of town.
She's out of town, but I
Spring
shared it
break.
with you, Sandy, and some other person online today. I cannot remember the name, and I cannot remember the counts, to be honest with you, but I shared the counts that we collected March 19th, which was last Thursday, if I believe that's the day of the week, last Thursday. So prior to that, the previous study was 2019. So I share with you those two, 2019 and March 19th, 2026, last week. Now, do I remember the numbers? Elvis, I'm sorry, I do not remember the numbers. I'll be happy to share them with you again. If you have them with you, I'll be happy to explain. But from memory, there's no way I can remember. What I can tell you is that the pattern is pretty consistent throughout the years. There's not enough traffic coming out of Morningside to justify a signal.
So what you wrote was that you would need 150 cars per hour
Yeah,
on
that's
58th Street to justify putting in a stoplight.
so that number comes from, that's the threshold that I keep referring, the threshold. The threshold is based on a rule book that's called MUTCD. It's used throughout the country, and that helps us to figure out whether a signal is justified at an intersection or not. So when I talk about the minimum threshold, that's the minimum threshold that I'm referring to.
So to
Elvis,
follow along with that, are there 150 pedestrians crossing Biscayne Boulevard at 57th Street?
So two different things, the cars and the pedestrians, two different things altogether. So out of that rule book that I was referring about, the MUTCD, there are different indicators. One of them is traffic, another one is crashes, another one is pedestrians. So for the signal that we are proposing for the crosswalk, it's actually a crosswalk, not a signal. It's a crosswalk controlled by a signal, but we're able to justify based on pedestrian demand, pedestrian counts.
And what is the minimum pedestrian count?
Listen, I don't remember. I don't remember, but I'll be happy to. When if we sit down, and
No, I'm
I
not
don't
asking-
have those numbers off the top.
I'm
of
not
my head.
asking what the pedestrian count was that you counted. I'm
Yes.
asking, according to the rule book,
Yeah,
how many pedestrians have to want to cross the street in order to
Oh.
warrant putting in a pedestrian crosswalk?
Elvis, forgive me, I don't
You don't know?
remember that number.
Okay.
And you mentioned the warrant, so that's a key word that we use. The warrant is an indicator.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I apologize. I do not remember.
So we'll get you that information, Elvis,
Mhm.
post meeting.
We will.
Okay, I think
Okay.
my time is up. You
Yes.
seem to be wanting to give me the hook, so hopefully I
Yes.
can do a follow-up after other people have spoken.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely. And
We'll
we'll
be
be
happy.
available after as well.
Yeah, we'll talk afterwards.
Thanks for coming, guys. Good
Thank
to
you.
see FDOT. People with tons of money. That's a quote unquote from one of my DOT employee that I had encountered one time. Anyway, my name is Brian. I'm a resident at 5831 Northeast 6th Court, Morningside, and I've been resident of this neighborhood for almost 42 years, I think 40 years. That 458th Street, I know what you want to do, the little bit, that pedestrian for safety of the Morningside residents, we have the guard house as well. If you move that to 58th Street, then guard can keep an eye who's walking in and out the area. Plus they have the camera system. It will provide the safety to the Morningside property, house, and everybody. Because right now, anybody can just walk in and to access the park, but they walk in every direction. There is no control for the safety of the Morningside residents. And also to go out of Morningside to go south on US 1, it's like an adventure. Trust me, it's not an easy task. I'm like a professional driver myself, but I don't take that chance because of that northbound coming in and southbound going in, and to try to sneak in, it's impossible. So if you want to do it and you can't do the traffic light because of your threshold limit, whatever, make that 58th Street going only northbound and turn around just a little further. They can turn around, go left, westbound, and then come back and go south. That will be the easiest because people, a resident like me, we know where to go southbound from the other side of the Morningside. But Amazon, UPS, all those trucks, they wait there and then they wait there going like this, and then let me sneak in. Disaster is gonna happen one day. So if you want, turn that 58th Street just a little bit, U-turn and go back on the south side. If you put a signal light at 58th Street, forget about your threshold for the safety of the drivers, people, residents. The Boulevard building. Just imagine the guy coming out of Boulevard building, he wants to go northbound. He will be doing same thing that Morningside resident will be doing. Looking left, right, and traffic on Boulevard, Biscayne Boulevard is not gone down, it's gone up. So that makes it even easier. So if you move that walkway a little further north and stick up a light or something, that way the Boulevard building traffic going northbound and Morningside traffic going southbound, everybody will be happy. Now, once you put that the whatever you call it, and the Morningside traffic, let's say it wants to go south, and that light is on, they will jump on it, and you're gonna hit a pedestrian there. That's a possibility. And trust me, the Biscayne Boulevard has gone so much. Now I can't even drive more than 30, 35 miles an hour on this boulevard anymore. So if somebody trying to jump onto the southbound, this guy boulevard people wants to jump to northbound, everybody will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
We're
It's
gonna,
good that you cannot drive more than 35 because that's the posted speed.
we're gonna open it up to the questions online. Monica, would you?
Yes, thank you so much.
Mhm.
So we have William Hopper who asked 4 questions. The first one is, who is this project designed for? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? And why 57?
Okay, so the project is designed for the community. It's pedestrian driven, right? Monica, help me out. What was the?
Yes.
who-
Where are they going and why 57th Street?
Where are they going? Okay, so the main generator of pedestrians is the high rises and condominium and slash commercial business, commercial use slash residential buildings on both sides of the street. Also, there is a big park on in the Morningside community, so that's a big reason for residents to cross to go to that park, to and from that park. What was the next question?
The
What?
last was why 57th?
Yeah, pedestrians. So pedestrian driven, it's a pedestrian safety driven project.
Thank you. We have David Holtzman who raised his hand. Mr. Holtzman, you are unmuted. You can self-unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. I'm going to just put them all out there because I don't know if we'll be able to go back and forth in my 3 minutes. But I've heard some of my neighbors, oh, by the way, David Holtzman, 691 Northeast 59th Street. I've heard some of my neighbors advocate for this crosswalk. I'm not opposed to crosswalks and for this crosswalk to possibly move to 58th Street. I don't feel like that's a particularly good idea. I do believe that my neighbors that have been calling for a proper four-way signalized intersection of 58th Street, that there's a lot of merit to that. Whether FDOT considers the warrant for it or not is, up for debate. But introducing another movement, pedestrian movement at 58th Street, given the complexity of making the left turn southbound out of Morningside, making a left turn going northbound adjacent to the boulevard, I think is dangerous, is going to make it very complicated to make a left turn when you immediately would have to stop to navigate a crosswalk. So if you're going to put it, I suspect 57th makes more sense than 58th. But what there's two things I'm looking at the plan. One is, and I can't tell whether it's striping, you're showing on the northbound Biscayne, making the left turn to 58th Street, adjacent to the Biscayne Boulevard. Is that going to be a curbed sort of left turn block, or is that striping on the street? There's a little triangle at the northern part of your proposed crosswalk image.
1 second.
Yeah, so that's the median that we are extending, and what we're creating there is a safety refuge.
Sorry, I'm not talking about at 57th. I'm talking about 58th. The cars going northbound, making a left turn onto 58th Street. Is that striping, or is that going to be a curb, like a raised curb barrier?
That is an existing condition, so there is no work going on.
Okay, so that stays as striping. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the last thing that I would ask for is I'd be curious to see your modeling and your vehicular movement that shows how all these moves are being made safely. So how a car that makes southbound movement out of Morningside, trying to navigate between northbound and southbound traffic, which is complicated, you've seen it, and then to add an immediate stop at a crosswalk. I'd be curious to see how those movements all work and aren't creating perhaps a more dangerous situation. So is that something you'll be able to share with the neighborhood? Like actual vehicular modeling?
So I can tell you what I can share, which is everything I have, I can share. Unfortunately, what you're asking for is something that I do not have. I do have pedestrian counts. I have vehicle counts out of 58. Again, we've collected that information Thursday of last week, and before that in 2019. I'll be happy to share that.
Okay. I know there's some pretty simple software that you all have access to that, that shows that vehicular modeling. Maybe it is something as this, I'll make this request that you put that modeling together to show all those movements, all 4 vehicular movements, and now the new pedestrian movement, to make sure that there's not a conflict, that you're not creating a dangerous situation or eliminating the ability for residents of Morningside to go southbound safely without, trying to navigate between cars and pedestrians.
Yeah, so if anything, the crosswalk is going to make it safer for both the drivers out of Morningside and for pedestrians crossing Biscayne Boulevard.
Saying it is one thing, but seeing it is another. And while I would agree with you in part, it might be safer for stopping northbound traffic, I don't know that I agree on the southbound. I think that all that's going to do is back traffic up to the 58th and Biscayne, which could make it more complicated for the movement out of Morningside. But again, the modeling would show that.
Okay, Mr. Holtzman, we're at the 3 minutes, so I
Thank
put
you.
our contact information.
I have it.
If you don't mind, reaching out to Ramon, Jeff, and I, and we'll help make sure that your questions are answered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We have a couple more questions, and then we'll go back to the individuals who are in the room.
Yes.
We have Lyle Sheriff. You are unmuted. You can self-unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How are you? Good evening. Lyle Sharif, 5801 Biscayne Boulevard. We are the owners of the corner building that is at the entrance to 58th and Biscayne. We also occupy it as our business. We spend, primarily all day in those offices. We have windows that face Biscayne, both the entrance to Morningside, Biscayne Boulevard. And my question to you is, we have witnessed probably more than anybody else in the neighborhood, other than the guard, the traffic accidents that occur on the boulevard, including being contacted by both people that are involved in accidents, both pedestrian and vehicular. We've been contacted numerous times by the police departments, the drivers, victims of things that have happened there. And our video cameras have been used as evidence. We've submitted, all sorts of different things. And just, without even knowing a real count, I can tell you that we witness numerous accidents. And my question to you is, what is the threshold that you use for accidents? And can you deliver to us a count or some sort of data that you have on how many accidents actually occur there in what period of time, and what it would take to reach the threshold, and why we aren't at the threshold to have a traffic signal there?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. I shared that information with some of the residents that are at the meeting in person here, so I'll be happy to share that with you. Unfortunately, I cannot recall all from memory, but I will
Can you
be
just give
happy.
us a basic idea how far we are? I'm sure you can remember accidents. It's a
You-
pretty serious thing. I mean, how far off are we to be
I-
at the number that it takes to have enough accidents there to justify a traffic signal?
Yeah, I trust me. I believe I wish I could tell you I have it off the top of my head, but I do not. But I
Not an
promise.
actual number. I mean, is it like a 50% threshold? Is it not even close to a mark that it needs to be? I'm not asking for an actual number, just common sense, from what you recall.
Provided actual numbers, just this is information that's very technical. And so if you would reach out to us via email, we'll provide you the information available and get it to you.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We do have one more question and one comment from Commissioner Pardo's office. Sandy Mosey, you are unmuted. You can self-unmute.
Hi, this is Sandy Moise, 5910 Northeast 6th Court, Miami, Florida, a resident of Morningside for almost 30 years. I did question the location of this. I don't oppose a crosswalk. We desperately need a crosswalk. My concern is that having the crosswalk with the traffic signal above at 57th would preclude us from ever getting a crosswalk at 58th Street. As many of my neighbors have said, 58th Street is an extremely dangerous intersection to move into and out of. And this is not only for Morningside residents, it's for all of the residents of the neighborhoods on both sides of Biscayne Boulevard. So I did question why we need a traffic light at 57th. And I really feel that the simpler solution would be to move it to 1 block north to 58th Street, where you could have the traffic light and the crosswalk. I do understand David Holtzman's concerns about moving pedestrians through, but that's how all intersections move pedestrians through, with a traffic light, and you have a walk light for pedestrians. I also question if the traffic light on 57th is button generated. I noticed that the pedestrian counts were more of an early morning, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. That's also the heavy traffic time heading south on Biscayne Boulevard. So, it just seems like we would have a lot of red lights stopping traffic at a important traffic flow time for drivers who are heading to work. So I'm not quite sure exactly how that would work or function. If every time somebody presses the button, the red light comes on, would it keep that 57th crosswalk stopping traffic much more frequently than if it were a regular traffic light? But again, I want to emphasize, this shouldn't just be about pedestrian counts. It shouldn't just be about vehicle counts. It's about the way the 58th Street and 59th Street almost come together at one intersection. 58th and 59th do cross. It's a little not an even cross. 58th on the west side comes in a little bit more south than 58th on the east side, and then 59th comes in almost to where 58th goes north on the east side of the boulevard. So you do have a very complicated intersection there. And it does really need a traffic light there because we've had a lot of accidents at that location. So these were the concerns that I brought forward. And again, it's not only about counts, it should be about safety. And I agree with Shelley King. The reason that I also cross sometimes at 57th when I'm crossing westbound is because of the blind curve there. And I walk down to get the median and also to have a better view of cars coming around the curve. That is a blind curve. It's a dangerous curve. And I also am concerned that you're putting a crosswalk that's really putting people's lives in danger when they're trying to cross on the northbound side of Biscayne Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you very much. We do have one more comment from Commissioner Pardo's office, and then we'll turn it over to the individuals in the room. Bradley Mills here from Commissioner Pardo's office. I want to thank the Florida Department of Transportation team for taking the time to join us and provide the latest updates. Commissioner Pardo was unable to attend due to scheduling conflicts, but our staff is here to listen, stay engaged, and ensure resident concerns are heard. Please also consider this a reminder that our office remains fully available to assist in sharing accurate, up-to-date information with our residents and helping keep the community informed. Thank you, Bradley. We appreciate you being here.
Okay, we'll turn it back to in-person questions.
Just one, sorry, just to sort of add on regarding the counts. I mean, this is kind of obvious, so maybe it's a stupid thing to say. But if you're counting 158 or looking for 158 cars coming out of Morningside to head north, oh, sorry, the ones that do come out at 58th Street are heading north. The ones that are turning south on Biscayne Boulevard are not going to 58th Street. They're going to 50th Street. So that's where you need to be counting if you're trying to count southbound cars out of Morningside. Is that clear? Is that understood?
There are two different intersections altogether.
Yeah, but the neighborhood only has two exits, 50th Terrace, is it, or 50th Street, and 58th. So because the turn southbound out of Morningside at 58th Street is suicidal, everybody goes, everybody. 90% of the people
I
go
understand.
through the neighborhood, which puts pressure, traffic pressure on the neighborhood to come out at 50th Terrace or whatever it is and turn south. So that's where you need to count southbound traffic. If you're looking for it at 58th, you'll never see it there. Half of them will be dead and the other half, just don't know any better.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I'm about to do something I should have done right at the beginning. So you don't have to look into the sun to look at the speaker.
Thank you.
Uh,
A little better?
I appreciate it, Elvis.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, Alan kind of said what I was going to say, that your traffic count on 58th Street is not accurate in that it is measuring what happens now rather than what would happen if there were a stoplight at 58th. As he mentioned, there's a lot of cars in the neighborhood that rather than deal with having to navigate 58th Street without a stoplight, they drive through the neighborhood all the way south to 50th Terrace and then go to that stoplight. So I hope I maybe clarified it. So it's hard to predict the future, but I do think we'd get a lot more traffic there. Would it be 150 per hour? I don't know. I doubt it. It would be a lot more. Now, having said that, of 150 per hour, I've tried hard to find the pedestrian crossing that was mentioned. I cannot find the latest one that you did. I can find the ones for 2019. And the peak hour that I found.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I wasn't understanding. I understand. That you're referring to the 2019 study.
Well, from what you've said, on like a week ago, you did another pedestrian count or only a traffic count?
Both.
Okay. So I was not able to find that traffic and pedestrian count
It's in the chart that
that you sent me earlier today.
this morning, yes.
I can see a traffic count, but not a pedestrian
I'll
count.
point it out to you.
Okay.
There's a column like that says pedestrian counts.
Well, be that as it may, like we kind of get back to where I was earlier, that we have a lot more cars wanting to use 58th Street than we have pedestrians wanting to cross at 57th Street. And you can argue that they're two different things,
Yeah, they are.
but there's human beings in those cars.
Yes.
Those are people too.
Yes.
And so and they don't get a median. They can't really stop halfway across Biscayne. Some people do. They're not supposed to do that. But please add my voice to the list of neighbors who have said it would make a lot more sense to have a regular signalized intersection at 58th, which would serve both pedestrians and cars. And let me also point out that in those past 30 years that people have asked for a traffic light at 58th Street, quite often people would say, well, what if we want to cross on foot? There's no traffic light for us to be able to cross at 58th Street. FDOT would say, you're supposed to walk down to 55th Terrace because that's where the traffic light is. So FDOT used to be able to tell us to walk 4 blocks, but now they don't want to tell people that to walk a short half block to 58th from 57th to 58th if they move it there. Did you understand what I was?
Yeah. I mean, so you first thing that you said is you want to add your voice.
Yeah.
We hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't meet your warrant thing. And apparently, is the warrant? Are you not allowed to exceed the warrant, to supersede the warrant? You have to have 150, otherwise it can't happen. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that if you go to Allwood, I think there's like 6 traffic lights between 54th and 79th. I don't think those side streets have 150 cars per hour.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Elvis. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still don't know. You haven't been able to look it up. Perhaps one of your people can look it up.
Can look
what is
up.
the minimum pedestrian count to justify a
So
crossing? Pedestrian crossing?
when I get back to the office tomorrow, I will I've answered every question that you've thrown at me. I've answered it, and I will answer this question.
Okay.
So just give me a chance until I get to the office tomorrow, and I will answer that question. Same as the gentleman that made the comment about the crashes.
Okay, that'd be great. And final thing, like many of my neighbors here today, I've crossed Biscayne Boulevard many, many times at 57th. And yes, it's very easy to cross. You wait for the gap, you go to the median, you wait for the other gap, and you go. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elvis. When there's a gap? Yeah.
So before we close out the presentation portion, we will remain a couple more minutes to answer any additional questions. We'll meet you at the back of the room at the board to answer any additional questions there. But we'd like to ask you to take a quick survey, a satisfaction survey on this evening's meeting. You can please take out your phones and scan the QR code and provide us any feedback in terms of the experience overall.
So sure, you can stand up.
I'm not sure how this system works. I mean, you are here with the fixed mind. No, we're gonna have the crossing on 57. These people are here, the Morningside residents are here to express their concern. Are you gonna take any consideration, or you will be stuck with a 57? I'm having double doubt. You're not gonna do anything about 58. Let's just work on 57.
So to answer your question, 58th, I'm able to provide all the data that I have, all the reports, everything that I have, I'm able to provide to you. Now, if you're asking me, will I install a signal at 58th? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Not at this time. There's, again, in the future, circumstances may change in the future, and then we'll have to come up with those answers then. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I can tell you right now, if your answer is, will there be a signal at 58th? Not now, not as part of this project.
Thank you so much again. Before we end the presentation, Target Zero is Florida Department of Transportation's campaign to end fatalities and serious injuries. Please drive safely on the roadways. And with that, we finished our presentation portion. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And again, we'll meet you at the back of the room for any additional stakeholders that have questions.